To us. To us.
They say that marriage is a vow taken
Cheers.
in sickness and in health. It is a sacred promise, a verbal contract sealed before family and friends, meant to serve as an unshakable foundation when the world turns cold. But what they don't tell you, what no one ever warns you about, is that some people do not look at your sickness with sorrow. They look at it as an opening. They see your vulnerability not as a reason to protect you, but as a golden opportunity to replace you. While I was suspended in a medically induced coma, hooked up to whirring machines and fighting for my next breath, the two people I loved most in this world were busy. My husband of 6 years and my own biological sister were actively using my silence, my absence, and my near-death experience to construct a brand new life together. They looked at my unconscious body and saw a clean slate. They convinced themselves I was never going to wake up. They were entirely, catastrophically wrong. And by the time they realized their mistake, the trap had already been sprung. To truly understand how deep this betrayal cuts, you have to understand who Mark and Maya were to me. Mark was my husband, a brilliant, wildly charming architect with an eye for perfection. We met in our late 20s, built a beautiful home, and shared dreams of a long future. Maya was my younger sister. There were 5 years between us, and after our mother passed away when Maya was just a teenager, I practically raised her. I paid for her books, held her hand through her first major heartbreaks, and protected her from the harshest realities of the world. I loved them both fiercely, without boundary or suspicion. They were my absolute core. So, when I first started experiencing severe, blinding migraines and sudden fainting spells, I didn't panic. Why would I? I had the perfect support system. Mark would dim the lights and bring me ice packs, whispering that everything would be fine. Maya would drive over to our house, cook dinner, and keep me company. But within 2 agonizing months, my health didn't just decline, it plummeted off a cliff. After a battery of aggressive tests, a neurologist sat Mark and me down in a sterile room to deliver a devastating diagnosis. I had an aggressive, rapidly progressing neurological condition. It required immediate, highly complex brain surgery. The doctor didn't sugarcoat the reality. He told Mark there was a significant chance I might not survive the operation, and even if I did, the trauma to my brain could leave me in a comatose state for an unpredictable length of time. I remember the night before the surgery vividly. The hospital room felt freezing cold. Mark sat on the edge of my mattress, holding my hand so tightly his knuckles turned white. He was crying, his chest heaving, promising me over and over that he would never leave my side, no matter what the monitors said. Maya stood at the foot of the bed, her eyes welling with tears. She leaned down, wrapped her arms around me, and whispered into my ear, "Don't worry about a thing, big sis. I'm going to take care of everything. I'll take care of Mark while you're gone." I went under the anesthesia feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude and safety. I closed my eyes believing I was surrounded by saints. I had absolutely no idea I was walking directly into an execution of my entire life. The surgery, as feared, had severe complications. To save my life and allow my brain swelling to subside, the medical team had no choice but to place me into a medically induced coma. For me, the passage of time was completely erased. It felt like a deep, heavy, dreamless sleep that lasted perhaps a single night. In reality, the world kept turning without me. I was under for 7 agonizing months. Throughout those long months, I vaguely remember the faint, distinct scent of my sister's expensive floral perfume drifting near my bed. I remember the deep, rumbling vibration of Mark's voice talking to a doctor in the hallway. But as the months dragged on, the atmosphere in that room changed. It grew colder, quieter, and emptier. The nurses later filled in the gaps that my dormant mind couldn't perceive. They told me that during the first month, Mark and Maya were an inseparable duo. They came every single day, sitting by my side, playing music, and acting like a grieving family. By month 3, their visits tapered off to once a week, always arriving together, always staying for shorter periods. By month 5, the visits ceased entirely. The hospital staff struggled to even get my husband on the phone to sign routine medical releases or update insurance information. When they did reach him, his tone was distant, annoyed, and detached. He was treating my existence like a lingering subscription he kept forgetting to cancel. Then came a Tuesday morning in October. Against every statistical probability, my eyes cracked open. The medical staff in the ICU were completely stunned. It was a miraculous, sudden recovery. My body was incredibly weak, my muscles had atrophied, and my speech was slurred, but my cognitive faculties were entirely intact. I knew exactly who I was. And I knew exactly who I wanted to see. The head nurse, ecstatic, immediately dialed Mark's cell phone right from my bedside speaker. It rang 4 times before going straight to voicemail. She tried Maya's number. Same thing. Just a robotic automated recording. For 3 excruciating days, I sat in that sterile hospital bed, forcing myself through initial physical therapy, drinking liquids, and building enough strength to hold a phone. I called my husband. I called my sister. Dozens of times. Text after text. No response. They had completely vanished. Finally, out of sheer desperation on the 4th day, I dialed my elderly aunt, the only other living relative we had. When she picked up and heard my raspy, weak voice say, "Hello," there was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. She let out a choked gasp, and then she began to sob uncontrollably. It wasn't the joyous, relieved sobbing of an aunt discovering her niece had survived a coma. It was a cry of pure, unadulterated horror. Through her tears, she stammered, "Oh, honey, oh my God. Nobody told you? Nobody called you? Mark sold your house 3 weeks ago. He and Maya packed up a massive moving truck and relocated across the country to Scottsdale, Arizona. He told the entire family that the doctor said you were brain dead and would never wake up. They told us they couldn't bear to stay here anymore. They said they were moving to start fresh. My heart didn't just break, it felt like it ceased beating entirely. The room spun. With trembling, uncoordinated fingers, I opened my banking app. I logged into my personal savings account, the money I had worked 10 years to accumulate. The balance was $0. I switched over to our joint marital account, the one meant for our mortgage and future children. The screen read, "Account closed." They hadn't just moved away because they were sad. They had waited until I was deep enough into my coma to legally petition the court, claiming I was permanently incapacitated. As my husband and next of kin, Mark had assumed total control of my assets, emptied every single dime I owned, sold the very roof over my head, and used my life's work to fund a brand new, luxurious existence with my younger sister. They had buried me while my heart was still beating. They thought I was a ghost who could never speak up to defend herself. But as I sat there staring at the cold, digital zeros on my screen, the devastating sorrow inside me began to morph. It hardened. The tears dried up, and in their place came a quiet, burning, terrifying rage. They thought my story was over. They thought they had written the final chapter. You need to prepare yourself for part 2, because you will not believe the calculated, devastating trap I set for them the exact moment I discharged myself from that hospital.